Okay, this is chapter 66 of The Night Singer. 66. Rebecca slowly opened the blinds just a fraction so that Hannah and Eric wouldn't notice. Eric, that was his name. She felt relieved to have remembered it, as though it proved she wasn't entirely worthless. The two officers were standing by their car and Eric was talking to someone on the phone. Once he hung up, they began whispering, their expressions closed and serious. They turned towards Gabriel and Eureka's house and moved out of view thanks to the stupid bush Petrie kept promising to trim. Rebecca glanced at the clock. Eureka should be back from her shift at the supermarket by now. She hurried over to the window on the gable end of the house, but the angle wasn't right. All she could see was the front door opening and closing. The sudden sense of panic Rebecca felt was so powerful she didn't know which way to turn. She wanted to run over to Eureka's house and storm inside, demanding to know exactly what was going on. Keeping still was impossible, so she paced back and forth between the kitchen and the living room, tearing at her cuticles with her teeth. Maybe she would be able to see more if she went upstairs. She raced up to Joel's room, tripping in the doorway and stumbling over to the window. Aside from the yard and the driveway, all she could see from here was Lena's dark room. But Hannah and Eric must still be inside because she hadn't heard the car. Joel's room didn't have a window on the front of the house, so she couldn't make sure their car was still there. Being among Joel's things brought her a sense of calm. Rebecca didn't want to take her eyes off the driveway, but she found herself peering around the room. At his unmade bed, his chair heaped with clothes that were too dirty for the wardrobe and too clean to be washed, his desk where his sketch pads usually sat, the little snow globe with a ballerina inside that he'd bought with his pocket money from a flea market when he was 6. Trans, neither male nor female but both? Was it really her son they were talking about? Wonderful, lovely Joel. No, she refused to believe it. It was like Hannah had dropped a bomb, seeing her lying on the ground with bloody stumps for legs, and then turned and walked away. Rebecca reached for the hoodie draped over the pile of clothes on the chair and pressed it to her nose. It still smelled like him. The scent made her waver, and she braced herself against the window frame with one hand, almost knocking over the small Buddha he kept there. The incense was obviously a way to hide his smoking. Had she really been that stupid, or had she simply chosen not to notice? Joel was gone, and a big part of her still seemed to be fighting that fact, refusing to accept that this was how things had worked out. Rebecca turned around and stared down at the driveway again. What was taking them so long? Eventually she saw Hannah and Eric leave the house and walk down the drive. They were too far away for her to be able to read their expressions, so she rushed downstairs and into the kitchen. Through the blind, she saw them walking her way. At first, she thought they were about to knock on her door, but instead, they climbed into the car and drove away. Fucking Hannah. Fucking everything. Rebecca didn't even try to hold herself back. She ran straight over to Eureka's and rang the bell. When Eureka failed to answer, she began pounding on the door. "Let me in, Eureka. I know you're in there." Her hand was on its way to striking the door again when it swung open. Eureka's eyes were bloodshot and swollen, and she had her arms wrapped tightly around herself, wearing that awful pilled cardigan. "I'm so sorry," said Eureka. What? What are you sorry for?" Eureka said nothing, simply stared down at the floor. Rebecca rushed past her into the hallway and looked all around, though she knew Gabriel wasn't home. As Eureka turned to face her, Rebecca began shouting, "Was it Gabriel who killed Joel? Huh? Did he?" "I don't know, but I think so." "Why the hell didn't you say anything?" Eureka slumped to the floor, breaking her fall with her hands. "I tried." "You tried?" Rebecca hissed. "Not very hard." She was so angry she felt like lashing out at Eureka, kicking her. "You don't know what it's been like these past few days," wailed the woman who had once been her friend. Eureka managed to get back to her feet and took a step toward her. "What about me?" Rebecca shouted. "How do you think it's been for me? Whatever your sick husband has done, at least he's still alive. Joel is dead." It was too much for her that she had slept with Gabriel, that she had wished they were a couple. Rebecca shoved past Eureka and stormed outside. With her heart racing in her chest, she ran back toward the house. She needed Petrie. She needed him like she had never needed him before, because she had just realized when it likely happened. As she was hunched over the toilet in the studio, retching and sobbing and convinced that her life was over because Gabriel no longer wanted her. According to the police, Joel had snuck out, but he must have come home and what had he seen? What was Joel's last vision of her? The last day. 4 more steps, then Joel turns around again. He doesn't trust the silence behind him. All he can hear is the chirping of the bush crickets. No engines, no birds. He misses the night singer. Its high, fast songs keeping the darkness at bay. A shadow by the edge of the road makes him jump, sending a wave of pain from his broken rib. It's just a bush. The darkness is full of shapes dancing around him, faster, closer, making it harder to breathe. Could his broken rib have damaged his lung? Finally, Joel sees the light, a tiny dot that slowly grows to a square as he approaches. His head is pounding, nausea washing over him, making the light waver, but he tries to fix his eyes on it. That is where he needs to go. His legs give way and he drops to his knees, breaking his fall with his hands. The sharp taste of bile fills his mouth. It feels like someone has rammed a fist into his chest and started rummaging around inside. Staying right there on the ground feels incredibly tempting, but he is so close now. Joel crawls back onto his feet and staggers forward. He hears something crunch behind him. Footsteps? No, it can't be. It must be an animal. He pauses, noticing movement in the light. His eyes take in what he has seen, but it's like they don't want to pass it on. Why? The question tears at him, at the ground beneath him. Everything feels like it is about to crumble. Joel stares through the window into the studio, as though frozen. Mom. And Gabriel. How could she? Her face is twisted with longing, but Gabriel doesn't want her. She throws herself at him and he pulls away. She falls over, dropping out of sight. But Joel still can't move. The door flies open and Gabriel comes stumbling out. Joel, he whispers, Jesus Christ, what happened to you? When he notices the look on Joel's face, he continues, It's not what you think. Why is he whispering? Shit, he stinks of wine. Joel tries to move past Gabriel into the studio. He needs to make sure his mom is okay. Gabriel grips his arm, but Joel tears himself free. Too hard. He falls forward again, and this time he doesn't manage to break his fall. A searing pain courses through him, shooting upward from his stomach. As Joel struggles back onto his feet, he realizes that it isn't coming from his broken rib. He shoves a hand into the pocket of his hoodie, and when he brings it out, he sees his fingers are slick with blood. The knife. How deep is it? I had a... But Joel gets no further than that before he drops to his knees. A whimpering sound brings him back. Why is Gabriel just standing there? Why isn't he helping him? And why the hell is he acting like he is the one who is hurt? Sorry. Joel thinks he must have misheard him, but the word keeps coming, jolting out of him. Sorry, sorry, sorry. It is getting harder and harder to maintain his grip on reality. Joel feels arms around him and wants to shout, No, stop, it hurts too much, call an ambulance. But the arms force him to his feet. I'll drive you to a hospital, says Gabriel.